Rex, you need to be very quiet now. Rex. Good afternoon, or whatever time zone you are in. On behalf of the CSJ Center for Reconciliation and Justice and the Sisters of St. Joseph of Orange, I want to welcome all of you to this year's CSJ Symposium entitled Faces of Justice. From its very beginning, the CSJ Center has supported the university's commitment to engaged learning. And what we mean by that are educational opportunities that are community-based and often related to social justice. The Voices of Just project that you are going to see today is a result of this kind of focus on community-based learning. And it is also the result of a beautiful collaboration and mutual co-sponsorship of this project by the CSJ Center and the theater department on campus. Voices of Justice is an interdisciplinary core curriculum course. It is offered by the theater department, but it is composed of from multiple disciplines, many backgrounds and interests. This year's class of 26 students made it possible for us to work with 2 different agencies, 12 students with each. And those 2 agencies were the Alexandria House, which is homeless services for women and children. And this year we were especially honored and appropriately able to work with Providence St. Joseph Health System, their Mission Leadership Institution. And we were able to interview and tell the stories of administrators, care workers, caregivers, and COVID-19 survivors. Very appropriate today. And that will be presented tomorrow at 6 o'clock. So please join us. They are some incredible stories. So today, I want to welcome you, though, to the Alexandria House stories. At the end, we have invited and graciously received acceptance from some of the storytellers, the women from the Alexandria House, and some of the students who wrote their stories to be with us at the end of the performance, the recorded performance, to talk to you about either the issues involved or in their stories or the process that they went through in this project, whatever it's going to be. And Q&A at that point is fine. It will answer your questions. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to Doris Baisley, the co-teacher for the course, to give you some background on the nature and process from this project.
Hi, I'm Dory Baisley, and I'm a playwright, and we just realized we have been doing this Voices of Justice project through the theater department at LMU for almost 10 years now. And what started it in our minds was the idea that one of the most simple acts of social justice is listening. And so when I saw today that I learned that the symposium is listening, discovering, and transforming, I realized that I think maybe we're in total sync with that and the way our class works. It begins with students going into a community, getting to know them, doing one-on-one conversations, and then bringing those conversations home to the classroom or to your Zoom box, and writing the conversations, transcripts from those words into a dramatic piece, poem, song, scene, or monologue. And then after that, the students who've done the interviewing and the writing then become the actors and directors of their own pieces. So it covers a wide range of disciplines, but it's always based on really speaking the words, hearing the words, discovering the words of another person. And Anna Devere Smith, who is one of our heroes in this form of storytelling in the theater, said that speaking another person's words is really the theatrical equivalent of walking in another person's shoes. And so that's what we do with our Voices of Justice class. This year we were lucky enough to do our first one. The second year we were at Alexandria House, and behind me is a poster from Alexandria House. It's a picture that's in one of the playrooms for the children there, and we were going to use it in our piece, and we never got to use it. So I'm very proud to present it behind me. And now we're going to present the hour-long piece that came from our interviews with Alexandria House. Please enjoy them.
I'm so sorry.
It's all right. So you volunteered with us here at Alexandria House for a while. Can I ask why you want to work for Alexandria House?
I do this now because of what I've been through. I guess just connecting that to what I do now and trying to help people. I really like it because of what I have been through.
You have a history with domestic violence?
My grandparents had a domestic violence relationship. It was a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing, a lot of blood, a lot of fighting. So as I was being sheltered from the reality of the world, I was also going through witnessing a lot of domestic violence.
That's hard.
38% of all domestic violence victims become homeless at some point in their lives. Among mothers with children experiencing homelessness, more than 80% had previously experienced domestic violence.
We were living in the same house together, but she was never home. She was always working, or she had like her boyfriends. She like lived her life like she would live with them, leave for the whole week. And then she had crazy hours also. But my younger years is when I saw my grandmother's toxic side. My grandma's not like that anymore, but she told my mom, you know, why don't you go and make money and leave Italia here with me? And just give me money every now and then and go live your life. And I guess my mom was young and she was like, okay. So I guess my mom was like, oh, I could do whatever I want with my life. Like I don't have a kid, but I do have a kid.
In the US, the neglect accounts for 78% of all child mistreatment cases.
Well, what about your father?
He was in and out. He was in and out of my life. He's trying to get it back in now, but in and out as I was younger. I think they had a lot of issues with him. They had a lot of problems with him. They always told me he was a manipulator, a liar, never told the truth, that he was very obnoxious. And I didn't believe them until a few years ago. I got in contact with him and I did realize what they were saying was true.
So when did you become homeless yourself?
When I turned 13, and I want to say maybe 12, I started going through this really, really bad phase of rebellion, of rebelliousness, of rebellion. But it was really bad. By the time I was 13, I ran away 3-4 times from home, and I lived in the streets, and then I got into drugs, and then I went into juvie, and then I got out.
Children who are rejected by their parents, grow up in homes with considerable conflict, and are inadequately supervised are at greatest risk of becoming delinquents.
Also, when I was 12, I got introduced to like this clique, which was like this mini gang. So I felt like they showed me a lot of love and acceptance. I guess because we were all outcasts. I guess that it was that feeling of freedom and feeling accepted, right? Where at home, it was like always fighting, always arguing. It's like I couldn't do nothing right, but no one was helping me. So I guess that's kind of why I left. And then I met the father of my kids, which also ended up being a domestic violence relationship. And then after that, I'm sorry, I left that relationship, and it was really hard for me. I got therapy again because I had a lot of trauma from the relationship. And then I came to the Alexandria House.
So you feel that that experience can help you if you work here at Alexandria House?
Yeah, like I can really relate to a lot of the calls that come in, or the women that are coming through the house. Like it is hard because the women that are coming through the house are still going through it. And so, since I'm kind of in a different place in my life, I can understand them, but I can't say that I am. I can only try to understand them. I'm not in their shoes.
And what do you do if we can't help them?
The calls that come in, it's hard to hear their story, but I can understand them. And Judy always says, if we can't help them, because 99% of the time we cannot, she says all you can do is just listen to them.
Over the last 5 years, the number of temporary housing beds has decreased by 9%.
So they're different because they don't discriminate on the situation that people are going through, as far as the LGBT community, as far as race, as far as situation wise. So when Judy goes to help someone go to court to get their kids back, they almost don't want to help the person because they have an organization by their side. And every time she goes, she sees the same Hispanic and Black people, like she's the only white person there. And so it's really frustrating for her. And she tries to help in any way that she can.
Most minority groups in the United States experience homelessness at a rate higher than whites, and therefore make up a disproportionate share of the homeless population.
And she doesn't put a time limit as far as like how long they can rest, and just help the person no matter what, is what I think is different than other places.
One last question. What do you want to be communicated if someone were to tell your story?
Yeah, I guess now that I think about it, connecting what I've been through to what I do now. Because I do this now because of what I have been through. I guess just trying to help people.
On any given night in America, more than 500,000 people are homeless. The impact of the COVID-19 crisis has been deeply felt at Alexandria House. In the past 8 months, they've experienced a 600% increase in spending to meet the emergency needs of their community.
And this person is going through it, and we can't help them. We can just listen to them and give them other numbers and continue. Sorry, I have to take this call.
Okay, well, when I was little, I was at Alexandria House with my mom. We were homeless for a while.
I was actually just getting over being being a homeless youth out in Hollywood, and there was this organization that was giving free parenting class, and I had not had stable parents, so I signed up for the parenting class by myself. I fell back homeless after I had Renee. Renee was like a baby. I tried to get into the programs. I just didn't know what to do as a parent.
They really helped her get an apartment around there, over there around the Alexandria House.
It took a while, but by the time Renee was a year and a half was the time we got into Alexandria House. They helped me with everything that was a struggle. Renee got diagnosed at 8 with ADHD, anxiety, OCD.
Um, And then I was diagnosed with ADHD at a very young age. My therapist recommended that I do a sport, and that's when I started cheer because Judy's daughter, she did a sport. She was in the same cheer team as I am now, so Judy helped me get into cheer.
So they were very helpful with doing all the, helping me get through all that. And everything that Renee used to get in trouble for, she was able to kind of blossom and take it to the next level.
I really like talking. I love making friends. That's what I would want people to know about me because I'm a really fun person. Like, I really like to go out, do a lot of stuff. I like to do a lot of activities and sports. I do swim, cheer, and I used to do track. I just really love sports and I have a lot of fun. In fact, my best friend Rachel, her sister also did cheer with me, also got into cheer from Alexandria House. She's my best friend. She's from Alexandria House too. We go there all the time together and pick out all the presents and stuff, and we always have fun. We still hang out to this day.
They kind of were, I guess they helped raise me because I was at the time like the youngest at Alexandria House. So I'm still like the baby of Alexandria House, along with now my baby.
They're like a second home, and they really help us out. They always like, whenever we really need something, they'll come through with whatever it is. I love to talk to the new people. I get to pick out presents for my mom. I love seeing her open them and seeing what she got us and what me and my sister picked out for her. Yeah, my life has changed for the better.
One day, if you are lucky, you will say goodbye to all the stories you ever told about yourself, about what a woman is and a man does when all the world is as it should be. It is a quiet and incredible farewell you will give to the person you once were. It is a long and slow salutation, this becoming who you are. A hello to a whole new existence that you never before imagined, except perhaps in a dream.
I can be sweet and silent when I'm thinking of words I'm writing. I can be overwhelming, but baby, all of it comes from passion. And I can be a bit dramatic, but baby, that's my favorite part about me. And maybe I cry too easy. Is that why it is so hard to love me? To love me, to love me, to love me, to love me. There's a thing that people say, I don't know if it's true. They say that daughters pick their partners based on their fathers, who are the authors of how we first see love. Well, I hope that isn't true. 'Cause if my love is anything like you, the ups and downs I might not survive. The only love I need is that one which is right here within me. Oh, I wish I knew that when I was 17. Oh, the ever-changing story the constant lies and worry. Mom said it'd be over, but darling, it's October, and I promised you I'll be the one you want me to. That only left me lonely. I'm trying, here's to hoping. Does it ever get better? I'm trying hard to be better. Why is it so damn hard to love me? Am I unlovely? There's a thing that people say, I don't know if it's true. They say that love comes from only one, and I know that isn't you. It's right inside of me. I finally feel free. Oh, I wish I knew that when I was 17. The only love I need is that one which is right here within me. Oh, I wish I knew that when I was 17.
I come from a badass line of women. Honestly, all the women in my life are my role models. They taught me you don't need a man, just do it yourself, and value yourself, and they're like, learn from our mistakes. Even though my childhood wasn't the best, I wouldn't change anything about it because it led me to be this strong, independent woman. I had a pretty crazy childhood. Good memories, though.
It would only last 5 minutes.
He's a junkie and he's bipolar, but he's my dad.
It would only last 5 minutes.
It all starts out wonderful until he strikes. The piercing of my mom's screams. Do I call the police? Never stopping until it's almost too late, and the cycle begins all over again. I'm the oldest, my mom's right hand, so I get the backlash too. Forgiving every time, forgetting never.
It would only last 5 minutes.
Whenever he was in a good mood, we would go to Disneyland, drive-ins, eat yummy food, but then again,
It would only last for 5 minutes.
and it goes back to cycles, where people just follow the cycle. It can either make you or break you. I told my mom, I don't want to end up like you. And she's like, I don't want you to end up like me. As parents, you want your kids not to be like you. As parents, you want your kids to be better than you. You don't want them to make the same mistakes. You want them to succeed. I didn't want to be that same stereotyped girl. And I honestly love who I am. I got lucky because my mom was stable. That's where I go back to my mom as my role model. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be who I am today. My motto is everything happens for a reason. I've been saying that forever, and I stand by it.
One day, when you are walking by yourself in a park at midnight, you will hear the sound of an old life echoing from a past that you swear belongs to someone else. You will listen to a voice telling you stories of a person you no longer recognize, speaking in a language you do not understand. And then on that day, you will know, as the butterfly exits the chrysalis, as the leaves of cold November blow by without you noticing, that you, too, have changed.
Our whole life is like chapters, you know? And that's how I explain it to them, even, the kids. Everything is a chapter in your education, whether it's elementary to middle school to high school, college to, grad school, whatever. In my chapter right now, we live in South Central right now. And, again, I'm grateful that we were able to have Section 8. And I think, okay, now our next chapter, let's move to a better area. Right now, I'm actually not working, but I plan on, opening up something. I bought, a food cart, so I'm going to see what kind of food to sell once we move. That's my plan. That's my plan right now.
I think it's this one. This one is really small. No, I don't think it's. I think it's this one.
This isn't a tablespoon is as big as a regular spoon.
What? I'm confused then. I put the baking powder for the tablespoon in this one.
Okay, just make sure it says table and not tea.
I did. I put the tablespoon.
Okay, I know, but everyone does that. Everyone makes that mistake. That's why I make sure it says table and not tea. I read it. She's making cornbread. I have 6 kids, 4 boys and 2 girls, and it was really hard for us to find our own place with 1 adult and so many kids. You know, I would even say that I only had 3 because I have 6 and still.
Oh.
That's too many minors.
It was just very hard. And so I literally went up and looked on 211. I called 211 and they gave me like
A list of shelters.
because I was like, what am I going to do? I'm not going to like sleep in a car. Like the kids, we need somewhere to go, you know? And I was working as a cook. Yeah. So I literally called down the list of shelters and a lot of them were, you know, saying,
there are too many of you. We're full.
And when I called Alexandria House, they asked like,
what's your status? What situation are you in? How would you feel if you were in a mixed environment, like of races and different people and ages?
and the house, the greenhouse, have you been there? Well, it's just very welcoming. It's like a big old home, the way they have it set up, like the atmosphere. It's not like a shelter where you're like, oh my God, you know, it's scary.
Well, you don't really know what to think in shelters, you know?
My oldest, it's her first year of college right now. She's going into San Jose College. So she has to have her first semester here. And I don't know, the news is saying it might even go into 22. She's very she loves reading a lot. She's very self-disciplined, very on top of things. And she's very, very smart. And whenever she says something, it's almost like I can literally ask her, what do you think about this situation? And she's like,
to be fair, the lady was busy working and you asked her something and she wasn't really trying to be rude.
And then I think about it and I'm like, oh shit, you're right. Maybe I was being a bit too much. Or maybe I don't need to take it personally. She's very on point. So I always tell her, oh, you could be a judge, you know, because you have very good judgment.
Yeah, just because you're my mom, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear or be nice.
She's very what do they call it? It's biased. You're not picking a side. You're just seeing things
unbiased.
Is it?
Yeah, it's unbiased.
Okay. That's what I love. Your kids, I feel like they do educate you, you know, it kind of makes you think differently. And then I have 18, 16. I have a 16-year-old. Well, when you're a parent, you tend to be not controlling, but you know, you have to listen to me. So I try to think nobody wants to listen to someone who's just
do it because I said so.
And my son, he's like a lion, like a born leader, kind of you can't really boss him. And it doesn't mean I let him do whatever he wants, but I see that he's a strong leader kind of person. But I'm you know, it's better to talk with your kids about everything. So I tell him, I literally sat down with him and told him,
you know, I don't want you to make the same choices as me, having children too young, because you're still a child. I want you to travel. I want you to be successful, you know, just you and your girlfriend, just respect each other and be careful. And if you guys decide to take it to the next level, you better use contraceptives.
Nobody talked to me about that. My mom didn't talk to us about stuff like that. And, you know, I had a baby when I was 17. I don't want to tell them,
oh, don't do drugs. And then that's it. No, these are consequences. You'll get addicted. It will ruin your life.
I literally tell them facts about shit is hard.
Hey, come on, share it with him. That's a lot of pizza rolls.
And then I have my third eldest. He is 14. He's taller than me. So is my other boy. He's very good with electronics and math. He was referred to honors math, yeah. And he loves science and he loves Marvel. He has like a very good memory with things. Like he could literally tell you the formula of oxygen, and I'm just like,
oh, shit.
yeah. And like even when I would go to his the parent teacher meetings, his teachers were always thanking me for letting him go to school, and I was like,
oh shit. Aren't I supposed to be thanking you?
because I would tell him,
oh, you always get all the hard questions of math right. And then the easy ones, those are the ones you got wrong.
And then my daughter, the fourth oldest, my daughter you're 11, right?
11.
You're 12, right?
11.
Oh, 11. See, I knew that. I forget how old they are because they're so big. She's like almost my height. She's like my right hand. Like anything I'm cooking, she's always helping me. Like if we're doing albondigas, she's rolling the meatballs. If we're doing tamales, she's always helping me with food in the kitchen. She's the one that will like smack her brothers over the head if they're not doing something.
No, don't even think about it. I'm letting it boil.
Yeah, and actually, you know what? She and the younger three kids, they're very artistic. They like to draw. I don't have time for it, but she's pretty creative. And like, she loves animals. She wants to be a doctor.
An animal doctor, like Dr. Doolittle, because we have 3 cats.
Yeah, and let me see then. There's my fifth eldest. He's very like soft-spoken, and he has like a sweet little voice. He doesn't like to be too rough, and he's always drawing like stories, like comic stories. He likes comics too. He likes Marvel. They all do. Yeah.
Mom likes them too.
Like when he's drawing his stories, it's literally like you can hear the sound effects to it, and he's always like,
pew pew pow. These are the bullets. This is the Trident King. Mom's like,
oh wow. And he literally explains it to you in detail. I always try to encourage them to like kind of have an idea of what they want to be, And then the younger one, I don't know how, but it's almost like he thinks he's like an only child. I don't know how that happened. He wants all the attention, and he's like the boss baby. He's very rough.
He's kind of like the bully of the family.
Hey, I don't want to say that too loud. Be nice. He has a sweet heart. He does like to be mean. So, what can we say about him? No, he's not mean. He tries. He's like the Hulk. He tries. I mean, he likes cars. He likes playing superheroes. He doesn't like to be left out. He tries to be included with everything. He loves sweets and he loves chocolate. So we're trying to scare him and say that
kids can get diabetes too.
It's a process because he acts like broccoli is going to kill him.
It will.
So it's a work in progress. Me and my younger daughter have been blending him smoothies, and we throw a bunch of broccoli in there and stuff. And we're trying to act like nobody can have it but him. And he's like,
that's mine, and I drink it.
Hey, David, you like vegetables, huh? He said, yes, of course. Hey, what are you going to put in that bowl? Baking powder?
Well, it can't be in this one, and it can't be in this one. Yeah, I'll just use the bigger yellow one. If anything, they'll just be real fluffy.
People think only poverty is, when you don't have money and, stuff, and that's part of it. But there's people, they literally have nothing. Or even the way they were raised, like they were never taught, certain morals or how to cook, like my mom was real old school and we knew how to cook everything from scratch. And it just really made me appreciate family and what we have, because there were so many women there, Alexandria, that they really, like family members died and they had nothing. And I'm like, it was sad, Like I said, it makes you really appreciate, what we have. Like for me, my kids.
was seeing stars. I couldn't breathe. That was the first and last time. From waking up every day, anxious, every day waking up, wondering what I would see. An inappropriate touch, maybe. A stolen kiss. My child's lost innocence. Oh, how it frightened me. I remember your belt, my neck. No, this couldn't be. Don't you love me? Call the police. Call the police. She called them. I filed the report. I couldn't let it be. I'm sorry.
Estaba viendo estrellas. No podía respirar. Esa fue la primera y última vez. People I loved insulting me. Drop the charges, they would scream. I did not have friends. No friends at all. Just the feeling of loneliness to see me through it all. There was one, a light in the dark. She gave me hope, a temporary spark. Go to the shelter, she said. I did. We needed a bed. Really nice, but really hard. So many rules. I didn't have a card in between places, cold and unfeeling. I didn't know what to do. My mind was reeling, praying to find something good. On my knees, praying that I would find something I would. A kind soul with some feeling left could see I was feeling quite bereft. They knew I couldn't go back. No. I couldn't believe it. They had found me, us, somewhere to go.
I was seeing stars. I couldn't breathe. That was the first and last time. Alexandria House, a beautiful haven, not cold or unfeeling. No, not at all. Only warmth. A place that answered my call. A wonderful place, but not without its difficulties. Just because of where I come from, my status, how I speak. My days were filled with technicalities. Searching for a job, praying for just one, but with an open case, no papers, it seemed it couldn't be done. Illegal filled my ears. English classes, court dates, endless appointments filled my years. Trying to give my kids a future, opportunities I never had, a chance at their dreams, at college. I was praying for it. I had never wanted anything so bad.
Estaba viendo estrellas. No podía respirar. Esa fue la primera y última vez. All of this is past. Now, with my own job, my own home, I can feel safe at last. The kids are free. They are safe, happy. For me, this is a dream, but I will never forget my time at Alexandria House. People who showed me feeling, showed me their humanity. I look at the stars. I can finally breathe. That was the first and last time.
Mine. Lack. I can't share it. I have to hold on to it. 2 suitcases, a big old duffel, a backpack, a stroller, and a 3-year-old, trying to figure out what we were going to do. I couldn't find any money to even get a bus ticket down here. But when I closed the door, it was like going to your grandma's house or something, you know? The beds were made up nice, everything was put in its place, and we were safe. One of those woo-saw moments, you know? Where you're just like, okay, everything's all right. ours. There's enough. We can give it all away and there will still be enough. That journey of going from being an individual to being a community member, knowing somebody's got my back. One great big family. Alexandria House is my home, even though we don't sleep there anymore. This is the only family he knows. I still struggle with some of the trauma of becoming homeless. Most of the time you're doing everything you can not to end up here, not to end up homeless, not to end up hopeless. But when you see those people on the street that are, drinking or obviously doing drugs or something like that, maybe they're doing that because they became so hopeless, not the other way around, because they reached out and they couldn't find any help. There was no one that they could lean on. There was no one that had enough resources to help them. The red tape was too thick. It could be your brother or your sister or your child or your parent. It's not that hard to end up here. It just takes a couple of really bad situations. Judy saved my life by letting us come. She hates for me to say that. I love my home, but it's not the easiest thing I've ever done. But I'm grateful for it. I was so grateful that we were finally safe, grateful we had a place to go where we didn't have to worry about where we were going to sleep and whether or not we were going to have a bed. And if we didn't have a bed, how was I going to be able to protect my child while we slept out on the street? I've been really grateful for the opportunity that Alexandria House gave us. Judy saved my life.
To be honest, I feel like my story with Alexandria House is more of everything that came after.
I'm in 3rd grade, and I'm starting to pick up an instrument. I think most of the attention is given to my brother, the older kid, to kind of pick up these instruments. We were gonna invest all this time, but it's not working out. I decided to kind of do my own thing and use hand-me-down instruments that didn't work out for my brother. So I start on the violin.
Judy's been so supportive of my music career as well. She'll invite me and other ensembles that I'm a part of to perform at their events, to kind of give us exposure and that experience of playing in front of groups. I appreciate every second of it. It just created a lot of good memories and keeps me still looped into the house.
In 7th grade, the Harmony Project offers me a slot in the program. Through there, I start taking private lessons. I'm fully involved, and they're able to provide me a free instrument that is much better than one that was probably bought for $20 anywhere. I'm able to take private lessons for free there. They are able to open the doors of me playing oboe, and I'm picking up piano and guitar on the way there too, just for myself.
Judy's kind of one of the best influences I've ever come across. Always positive, and it's always how can I help you? Which is kind of what I think my entire family took on as our personal missions too.
The Harmony Project offered me a scholarship. They helped me go to college, which was amazing. I wouldn't have been able to fly back and forth without that scholarship. I went to school in Iowa, Cornell College. It's a small liberal arts college. We worked on a 1 block at a time system. It's okay for a lot. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. Anyways.
It's full circle. Now that I'm working back at Harmony Project, they were able to give me a job as one of their alumni. And now I'm able to kind of do the same and give back to a community that I came from. Offer these students the same attention of gifting instruments that they can't afford. Giving them opportunities to play at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. So it's really cool to kind of just live these lives of giving back to your community. The importance of community in my life has just brought so much. And I think that really stems from Alexandria House, to be honest. They were the first idea of community that I fully understand, and what communities can do to change lives.
How'd I do?
Great. Keep up the good work.
Will you record this? Is it just audio or visual and audio? Okay, just curious. And then I'll forget about it. I'm gonna forget about the recording.
I was in a situation where I had to find immediate housing because the housing I was in wasn't permanent. And so I interviewed and I got picked to stay there, which was a blessing. And a lot of things were happening at the time. At the time, I was separated from my children. I was homeless by myself. My children were housed with their father, who was taking care of them. There's a whole lot of stories in there.
Okay, so ever since I was 10, I had this dream of being a grandmother, a mother and a grandmother. I couldn't wait to have children, and I wanted to have 8, so I was set on having 8.
A message for somebody that I love. A message to my grandson, King. King, things may seem like they don't go your way sometimes, but screaming is not the thing to do. So please learn to be patient and realize that Wella has got your best interest at heart. That's the message I want to give to you.
And so we went on this quest to start a nation, to start a family. We were interested in naming ourselves and enriching, no, that's not the right word, incorporating traditional African cultures and values. So one of the first things we did is we changed our names.
My daughter's getting ready to have another one, a baby girl, my 5th grandchild. Oh wait, no, I have 5 now. Wait, 3? 4? Yeah, it'll be the 5th one. Lost track for a second. I have 8 kids, 7 alive.
I wasn't born with Tobias Slimu. Tobias Slimu is the name he gave me. And I took it because it had meaning. Tabia means talented. Sophia, my middle name, means clear-minded and pure. And Slimu means peace. So at the time, it was way before 9/11, all you had to do was go to the DMV and sign some papers and pay $15 to change your name. So we did that. We changed our names. That was the first thing we did. And then when my children were born, they naturally got that last name. So we're like the Slimu tribe. And I like that word, tribe, because it kind of defines like a family unit that's a little bit more than a family.
My children all mean the world to me. The first 5 I helped raise. Number 6 is not alive. That's a whole nother story. And number 7 and number 8 were adopted out. They were open adoptions, so we were in each other's lives, but I relinquished my parental rights. So I was not in their life 100%. But I brought them into this world, so I count them. Yeah.
There's a whole lot of stories in there.
Well, as I said, that's another story.
That's a whole nother story.
The first story. New York, New York.
Fast-paced New York City, born and raised, from the Bronx and proud. From the city that never sleeps, studying at NYU, live jazz heard on the streets.
I really enjoyed my high school days. My high school days were fun. I went to that school that made that movie, Fame, Music and Art, and it was quite special. I had a really good junior high school experience too. I learned how to play the violin. I learned photography. School in general, I enjoyed school. It's called the Village, but It's Greenwich Village in New York. When I was going to grad school at NYU, I got a chance to really see the jazz lifestyle. I found a lot of clubs that had free moments or affordable moments to go to, different jazz clubs and hear live music.
The second story, California Dreamin'.
Beaches and buses and Beverly Hills. Consistent weather. She found comfort in a new place at a new pace.
At the time, I was taking a break from all that schooling, and I was in grad school at NYU. And one of the guys I was painting with, I was house painting at the time, he says, I'm going to LA to run a marathon and hang out on a farm for 3 months. You want to come? I was like, sure, of course. I'll take a 3-month vacation to California. And so we took a Greyhound bus, took us 5 days to get there, because that's the year it snowed in Texas. And it was quite an adventure. And after 3 months went by, he was getting ready to leave, and he goes, you coming? And I said, no. Well, I have this interview with RTD. I think I want to learn how to drive before I go back. So that's what he left, and I stayed.
The third story, my children's father.
She went on a quest to start a nation as her biological clock was ticking. She was in search of a sperm donor, a seed planter, if you will, a partnership to start a family.
He was interested in starting a new family. He taught at a school called Children's Space, and Children's Space was like an African village here in America. I think he was the history teacher or the Black history teacher. So here I was, a 24-year-old young whippersnapper who thought I knew everything, as most 24-year-olds do. And he believed in me. You know, when I told him I can have these children at home, he believed in me. So I had my first 5 children at home. They were all home births, but the very first time it was just he and I. And we did it. We did it to the point where we did it 4 more times. We did it 5 times. But he could have just totally knocked my future wishes and made them non-significant. But he believed in me. And that's one of the things that I really, really appreciate out of that relationship. One thing that I'm real grateful for is his belief in me. You know, people want to call him my husband, and I correct them and I say, no, he's my children's father. It puts in perspective our commitment to raising the children. You know, it was all about it. It was all about the children.
The fourth story, the story of Selah.
A woman's choice, a certain decision, afraid of what they would think, she forgave the most important person, herself.
When I was first homeless in 1996 and on the streets of Skid Row, terrified of what could become of me, and first separated from my children, I encountered a friend of mine who I felt comfortable enough to be in the same room with him, naked. It happened very quickly. And a week later, I went and got a pregnancy test and it came out positive and I got an abortion. I wasn't ready to have another child after my 5 children, emotionally and spiritually and physically. I was street homeless. I was in a program, in a downtown Skid Row program. And so I decided to take that to God. And I knew that my relationship with God wasn't determined on what other people thought and what other people say. And I prayed a lot. I meditated a lot on it. And I learned to forgive myself. So I gave the child a sex, female. And I gave her a name, Selah. Saleh, I believe. I have it written down somewhere. Selah is an Arabic word or expression meaning, and so it is.
The 5th story, the house.
Alexandria House. Community, togetherness, sharing. A house that provides for her mentorship, stability. A place where she can relax.
I don't remember the interview, the specific questions. I just remember feeling that I belonged there, and nothing I said would I knew I had this interview. I felt like I was going to be a conjugal part of Alexandria House, them to me and me to them. And learning to live in a community has been the backbone of how I'm able to raise my children, because it reinforced like togetherness and community, sharing, stuff like that. Just the unabridged, what's the word? Unconditional, the unconditional acceptance, because sometimes I'm not so easy to deal with, and I appreciate the fact that they put up with me and they care about me and they love me, and it's a genuine feeling to know that you're cared about and that you're welcome to come into their home. That's the best part.
The 6th story, the Salimu tribe.
A family unit. A little bit more than a family. A village. Tabia means talented. Sophia means clear-minded and pure. Salimu means peace.
My grandson spends the weekends. He is 3.5 years old, and what's most precious to me and what I think is the most important job for me as his grandmother is when he wakes up, being right there and cuddling him and rocking him in my rocking chair. I can feel the comfort and the support that he feels in those hugs. And my granddaughters, oh my God, they're just so beautiful and they're full of energy. My granddaughter Aya is 2.5, and she tears through here like a bullet, going through different toys because I have toys for them, and I show them art. They have access to pen and paper and crayon and paper, paint and paper. This was my fondest dream. My fondest wish was to have grandchildren.
The seventh story. Joy.
Her creativity is a gift from God. She's talented and full of humility. She's grateful and creative and has a mindset of her own.
Art is my salvation. You know, it gives me an avenue to build up my self-esteem. I didn't grow up with a whole lot of self-esteem, and it took my adult life for me to come into accepting myself and loving myself. And art is a tool that I use to express the feelings that are inside, wanting to pour out. With tissue art, it teaches me patience. I don't have deadlines. I don't have expectations of having to finish at a certain time. So for me, art is very freeing. It frees my spirit and it gives me joy. It gives me an opportunity to express joy and to feel joy.
A final note.
A divine message from her to the world, from lessons learned and life lived.
Life has sweet moments. Just like moons and like suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise.
My daughter told me the other day, Mom, when I get older and I go away, I'm gonna feel sad because you're gonna be alone. And I said, oh no. When you leave, I'm gonna make my dreams come true. This is gonna sound a little bit silly because I'm already old, but I wanna be an astronomer. And I'm already working on that. When I was little and I used to have a lot of issues with my family, I would go to this, I don't know how to say it in English. It's like a closet, but it's not in the wall. You know, wardrobe. I would go in there and I would be in there for hours when I wanted to be alone because I couldn't stand my family. Don't think I'm weird. It's just, I would dream of space. I would dream of going somewhere else besides Earth. I wanted to go to the moon. I always wanted to, see other planets, just somewhere else far away. Because a lot of things don't make sense here on Earth.
You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise.
I always feel different from everybody. I never wanted to follow the rules. I never wanted to feel like I have to listen to this person because it's my grandma, because it's my uncle. I was a troublemaker of my family, because we will always argue. When I came here, I was 14 and my mother was already remarried with somebody else. And okay, so my stepfather was very abusive. And when I came here, he would always try to touch me. So then, after I moved in with my father, for whatever reason, tried to rape me. I never had a good relationship with my mother, to be honest with you. Since I was little, I never saw her as my mother. I remember her taking care of me, but I never felt that connection. I always saw her as my babysitter. But my father, I adored. He was my everything. He was the love of my life. Because of what my father tried to do to me, it broke me. As a woman, as a human being. I wanted to turn into this, I can say anything here, right? I wanted to turn into this ugly fat woman that no man would like. I'm sorry, but it is the truth.
Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise.
So then, Alexandria House. Miss Judy, I think you know Miss Judy, she's just like an angel because it doesn't matter who you are or what you've been through. She will heal you and she will teach you. And not only that, besides the healing, she will teach you to help other people heal. So that's why I learned so much. She really liked the way I was raising my kids and treated my kids. She actually said one time the only person she would pass her job on to would be my daughter. She would tell me, Morena, your kids are so well behaved and respectful. Then that's how I started talking with her, and then I wouldn't be afraid to let her know if I thought she was wrong. She said to me one day, Morena, you're one of the ones that I fight with, and that's a good thing. And I was like, wait a minute, fighting is bad, so this is bad. And then I talked with someone that's really smart, and they said, no, when she says that, she means she respects your point of view, and she respects that you're honest, and you're not just like, yes, you're the boss, yes. I always go for what's right, and that's who I am.
Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear.
I rise.
I rise.
I rise.
I want to learn how to do a little bit of film. I have a lot of things in my head that I want to put out there. I'm going to tell you something. I wrote a little story about the Alexandria House, and I'm going to call it The Greenhouse. You know, there's a yellow house and there's a greenhouse. This one is a family that is in a hotel, and the mom has 4 kids. They're in a hotel, so they don't have money for the next day. They don't have food. And then they get that phone call from the Alexandria House. And they tell them, you're moving in, your room is ready. So like they started jumping, screaming, and they run off all from the hotel all the way to the Alexandria House. And while they are running, they are fighting for who gets there first. And then one jumps on top of the other one pulls their hair, stuff like that. Even if I just put it on YouTube to give to Miss Judy as a gift, it is something small, but I want to do it. I want it to be out there.
I rise.
I rise.
I rise.
Maya Angelou went through sexual abuse and rape, and she turned into this poet. I get connected to that because I've been hurt a lot, and I've also hurt people a lot. I've hated people a lot, and I've learned from the poem that I may hate somebody, but they will still rise. I may want to get rid of somebody, but they might still rise, and it's the same with me. People may cut me, they may hate me, they may have wanted to hurt me, and I still will rise.
I rise.
I rise.
I rise.
Mo liked it. Judith, you're muted. Hi, Madison. I'm going to mute my dog for a minute here.
Mute my dog. Hello, to those of you that we are not bringing up on the screen, the people that we're bringing up right now are some of the students who wrote the stories, some of the women from the Alexandria House who graciously shared their stories, and two of the people from the staff at the Alexandria House. And we're going to open this up as sharing some stories, sharing some just sharing the experience of what you just did today, asking questions, whatever this turns out to be. So I believe that you have a Q&A and you have a chat room section, which we will bring up. And
yes, we can take your questions in chat, so that would be good.
Or in the Q&A.
Hi, David.
Questions.
And hi, Liza. So I'm going to ask a question to, I know we have some of the storytellers here as well as students, and just jump in, whoever wants to go first. But I would like to know what surprised you either during the process or about the underlying issues when you were working on your Alexandria House pieces. What parts of the process or the issues or the people you talk to, what changed in your thinking between when you started, and this goes for storytellers too, and when you saw this tonight?
Everybody's shy. Surprise question. We might just, while they're thinking about that, do we need to do some introductions? Madison, just kind of raise your hand as I introduce you. Madison was our coordinator with the Alexandria House to do this program. She's on staff there. I'll just come across where I am. Eva Peterson is with the Voices of Justice class, but she is with tomorrow night's group, and she's helping us tonight technically. David Fabian, just want to raise his hand. He's one of the writers, student writers. Eliza Black, one of the student writers. LaTamara Gates, one of the student writers. Marina Acosta, one of our storytellers. Thank you for thank you for being with us.
Okay, put on your thing.
Yes, that's right. And Barbie, one of our storytellers, Judy Vaughn, who's the founder and director for the Alexandria House, and hates when we talk about her in the programs. Alexa, who is one of our storytellers. Stephanie Mejia, who is our wonderful administrative assistant here, who helps us through the program. And Tabia, who is keeping herself hidden down there for the moment. And she is one of our storytellers. So thank you all for being here. And let's go back to the question that Dory asked. And then I see that we also have an open question, which we'll get to right after that. Or I can read this right now. Hello, this is Jessica Delgado from the Breath of Fire Latina Theater Ensemble in California, and I wanted to know what the actual production was like in making the transition so smooth. I really love the poetry and the ability to have characters take over each other's stories. Anyone want to respond to that? David, unmute yourself. Maybe we just have all of you unmute yourself so that you can pop in.
We have a really very talented technical director for our theater department who he's done a bunch of amazing things since I've been here at LMU, even before we were virtual with our onstage productions. But basically, he came in and we told him exactly each storyteller what they were looking to do, and he worked with them on what was possible and what wasn't. And you can really do a lot with Zoom as long as you just have the individual boxes. So different people wanted different things, and he would just take their requests and then make it into what you saw in the final. So really, it's just having great people working at LMU.
And Jessica, thank you for that question. Do we have some other questions that people have or comments? Then let's go back while we're waiting to see. Let's go back with Dory. Had the question of, I think that would be true for the storytellers as well as for the writers and performers. Were there some things that surprised you in the process in working with each other? Tabia and Tamara, we have two of you here that did each other's stories. I mean, that worked with each other. I don't know if you want to share anything.
Yeah, I'll share. I think something that surprised me during the process, because I'm not like someone in theater and I've never done this type of work before, was like the focus of the production and what we put on. See, I thought because we were interviewing people from Alexandria House that we were going to be talking about like those certain topics, but instead it turned out that I was talking about things completely like outside of that person's life is not just all about the hardships, but it was like also Tabia talked about her artwork, and she talked about the process of her even winding up in LA and like how she got there. So I thought that the focus was going to be like more centered on the hardships of their lives, but instead like I end up learning both aspects as well. So that was something that was different from my perception before I came in.
Sort of saw them as human beings rather than our expectations or whatever. Madison, did you want to add something there? I saw a hand moving. No?
Sorry, I'm a hand mover.
Good. Okay.
I will say though that, I wasn't a storyteller and I wasn't a writer, but working at Alexandria House with all of our community members, I've heard, people's stories they've told me throughout the years, and being a part of this program for the last 2 years has been incredible, because it's really cool to see all these students and their creativity recreating and just adding to people's stories. That's been something that's really thrilling to me, and seeing this production was no short of that, even with everything that went on with this year. So that was something that was really cool.
Judy?
I think just to add to what Madison said, and I want to thank you, Tamara. Did I get it right? Yeah. So often people, when they're considering the issue of homelessness, that one factor becomes the defining characteristic of a person. And the struggle has been to really humanize who are folks who are homeless. It's not a definition. It's simply a situation that people find themselves in. And I think what this theatric performance does is really demonstrate the great diversity among the folks who have experienced this reality. So we've really been honored to work with LMU and are really appreciative of everybody who is both willing to tell their story and then find ways to portray those stories to try to break through some of the stereotyping.
There's another question from Jessica. She says, I have another question. Did you get a chance to choose the stories you wanted to work on? And if so, why did you choose them? If not, do you think there's something that you're going to take with you anyway? So I think that might be true to ask both the storytellers, did they get to choose who did theirs? And for the writers, did you get to choose? So you might, it's a process question, I think. David?
Yeah, I know we did it a little differently because it was our first, as far as I'm aware, it's the first time Voices of Justice has been done virtually. So rather than being able to go directly to the house and talk to everybody, we had to do a large Zoom room, and we had each storyteller for Alexandria House storyteller give a brief overview of their story and sort of what had happened to them and how they'd been affected by their time at Alexandria House. And then I guess after that, we kind of just went through like name by name. And if a person was really interested in it, usually they would jump on it. And because of the fact that we had more students than storytellers, we had a couple where there were like two different people. And one person would say, I'm going to do that one. And then somebody else would be like, can I do that one too? And so they gave a couple, well, most of them, I think, were at least two people. And then the last few ended up just being one person. I was one of the stories that was just one person because all the other ones, like I was semi-interested in them, but I wasn't as interested as the people who like spoke up faster. And I was like, well, I think I'll leave them to that. And so we got to the last few, and my story, I had liked what what I'd gotten to hear from Italia, and so they were just like, all right, there's these two left, and there's two people, and I was like, well, I'll take this one. And I mean, they didn't have enough time to fully tell us everything, so definitely, I think you could only go based off of the idea you got of their personality. And it was a learning experience, but I definitely think that all of the women had great stories, and anyone you picked, it would have been a good option.
The process we usually do, I'm just telling Jessica, because I hope maybe Jessica will start one of these herself, is that we have a story circle where the students go to Alexandria House, and when this happens in real time, we actually go to the place and we all share stories with each other. So we go around a big circle, or the online version of that. And as people hear each other's stories, we sort of listen and hear whose stories we're relating to. And then in real life, we then have a moment where we have a lot of food and we all eat and talk to each other and kind of pair off into interview couples. But this time around, we had to do it online. And I think we all really missed the food, but it was, it came out beautifully. We were very surprised that even though we couldn't meet each other in person, we met each other online. And I think the right people told the right people's stories. So I'd love to hear how that went from, even from the storyteller's perspective. Barbie, Tabia, what your experience was. Yeah. Barbie?
I thought what you guys did was wonderful. I didn't know what to expect in going into this, but the things you came up with to do, the creativity that you used, and your ability to tell the stories was amazing. And you just put together a really great program.
Well, listening to this the second time, Barbie, because they had a chance to hear this in December and approve the stories before we made them public. Hearing it a second time, was there anything that surprised you, or that you had that's especially touched you, that your storyteller had done? Not done.
I think for me, I figured in the original showing, I looked at it with a critical eye as to how it was being depicted and where changes may be made, as I thought we were asked to do. But in this sitting, I looked at it with an appreciative eye, and I really don't have any criticism for it at all. I thought it was really great.
It held up a second time.
It did. And I don't know what was different. I'm sure there's some differences. I don't remember what was different, but every single one of the stories was just done in a really great way.
Thank you. I also wanted to kind of know from Marina and Tabia, but we have a question, Judy. I think this one is for you. We have from the director of Geneva Gardens at Blessed Sacrament in Hollywood, who wants to know if there's a way of contacting you about somebody who is currently in jail that they're trying to place. How would he contact you to do that?
Or reach us, and there will be somebody there to talk and give resources and hear about the story. Our telephone number is 213-381-2649. Barbie's one of our tech people, so
There you
they
go.
can go on our website too, right? Barbie, you want to?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So through our website, www.alexandriahouse.org. One of the things that's referred to in a number of stories is we're a really small agency. And many of you may know we had a fire in our greenhouse, though we tried to find ways to continue to keep, folks that we can in housing until they move into their own places. There's more than 68,000 homeless people on any one night, and that's a conservative number, and 11,000 shelter beds. So no matter how you do the math, there isn't just enough, but we try to leave, as people say, with a sense of hope that somebody is listening and to share as many resources as we possibly can. But I would encourage you to call the house and let's see what the story is and what the timeline is and what might be possible.
I think there are some other things I'm getting here.
Well, I would like to thank Jessica Delgado from Breath of Fire Latina Theater, who I don't know if you're all getting her chat, but I hope you're encouraged to see that in the real world, there are theaters that do this process and welcome collaboration. Thank you, Jessica.
Thank you. And I think there's another one that I can't see. It's hidden behind my my question and answer one. So if you can get to that, that would be
Yeah,
helpful.
we wanted to ask the students, what are you going to take with you from this process? From your experience with Alexandria House?
I think for me personally, just kind of echoing what I said earlier about my expectations versus the realities of going through this process and my thoughts prior to, I think that now I've got this more holistic outlook towards people that are maybe underprivileged or struggling or going through something such as homelessness, that there's so much more to that person than just looking at their situation. So I think now that when I look outward towards people, I'm looking more with a holistic aspect to them, if that makes sense.
Alexa, anything you wanted to share? Judy? Yeah, Alexa, did you have something? No?
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
So, I mean, I worked with Renee, who is a young girl, and it was just really like eye-opening to work with someone so young, because like she knows a lot about the world, but she's still coming from like a viewpoint that's like really like not included or anything. Yeah, it was just really interesting to work with Renee.
Marina, anything that you wanted to share? Or
yes,
we wanted to make sure we gave you a chance. Okay.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say thank you very much for putting my story up there. They did it very beautiful. I love it. I'm so proud of it. It makes me happy when I hear it. And thank you so much. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for putting out their homelessness, pain, suffering. Thank you so much to everybody.
And thank you for being willing to share that with us, because these are stories, as many of you have told us, must be heard. Yeah.
It's very painful.
Yes.
But we need to put it out there.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you.
Judy, I think we're getting right to the end here. Is there anything that, by the way, Jessica, in answer to your question, no, these students are not participating in the next session. That is grad students that are doing that particular one. But I hope you do look into that. Judy, is there anything you'd like to say kind of as a wrap up as we close today? Anything you want to leave us with?
Important thing for me, I don't want it to be the last word, but an important one for me. A lot of folks, a lot of the storytellers shared about the importance of community at Alexandria House. Given these dangerous times for so many reasons, we really need to be there for each other. And yes, I appreciate the way folks felt that I was helpful, but I think when you look at community, Alexandria House wouldn't exist without all the different people that make it up. This is definitely true in terms of the staff, but I think one of the things that's so important to us is sort of, as one staff person says, everyone gives and everyone gets, that there really is a sense of how we can learn from each other. I know I've been there for a number of years, so sometimes I'm kind of the point person of somebody who's been there consistently. But I just want to say that I do this work because of the community that we're trying to be, sort of the, in religious language, well, everybody uses it now, and hopefully we can work towards it being that beloved community where we all have a place. And Alexandria House wouldn't exist without all the people who come and make it possible to be who we struggle to be every day.
I think that's a nice place to end, actually.
But I know Barbie has her hand up.
Oh,
So
Barbie? Okay. Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to build on that Judy was mentioned a lot of times in the program, and while she's an important part of the community, she's not the entire community, and the entire community is what makes the difference. Not just in personal growth of every person who comes in, whether it's one way or another, because we don't all grow the same, but also in where we end up and how we choose to interact again. As a past resident, I'm really honored to be there for new residents and to be helpful and to give back, because a past resident got me through my time there and helped me to grow and not be in trauma as much as I was when I arrived. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really important part, not just past residents, but staff members and even donors and volunteers that come in. It's a place of meeting. And it's important that everybody knows that it's everybody.
Everybody. I suspect, Judy, that part of that is that you're the first one that they hear from and that they work with. So of course you're the gate through which they enter it. But and I think Judy's words about us needing each other and everybody being part of the community that must now be built is true, not only of Alexandria House, but everywhere. And with that in mind, Dory, is there anything you'd like to add before we close up? Because I think we are at time.
Did Barbie or Madison have something there? I saw some hands. Or Madison, are you waving your hand?
Yes, sorry. I just have a really quick, Tabia is here with us. Unfortunately, just the visual, we're having some technical difficulty.
Oh, too bad.
But she did ask me to share that this was a job well done, and it was an honor to participate. So that is from Tabia.
Thank you, Tabia. Okay.
My hope is that some year the staff will tell their stories.
Well, we got Judy's in.
Not this time. Not in this show.
Okay, right.
Oh, and that's part of the privilege of working at the house. A large number of the folks who serve on staff have lived through the experience of being without a home. They know the story from the inside out, and I think Italia's story reflected that, as does Barbie's words just now. There's others as well. It's so when we're able to come together again, we'd love to have. You didn't get to do it before, but I promise you food and company as soon as we
can. As
it
used to be.
Yeah, as soon as we can get it back together.
Yes, and may we all be well until that time. We have another group coming up in a half an hour, and we need to allow them to do a transition. So we're going to close. And I want to say again, my huge thanks on behalf of all of us to Barbie and Marina, to Bea, to Madison and Judy for your generosity in letting us into your virtual homes, if not to your actual home this year, and making us feel so welcome and helping us to transform our understandings and to make new friends and to be part of your community. So thank you. And I think we're going to let Stephanie close us out.
Okay,
Thanks to
thank
all the
you.
people. Bye, guys. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. You did a great job.
Thank you.